Hi everyone, I'm Josh.
And I'm Jim, and this is the Dapper Meeple.
This show is about our love of gaming, the games we play, and the gaming community around this passion.
So grab some snacks, pull up a chair, and join us at the table with your monocle and bowler hat. Hey kids, remember, this is an adult podcast and may contain adult language.
Also, the Dapper Meeple outfit, not required.
Hey, welcome back. You know it's a good day when we can talk about something positive that Hasbro is doing. And I'm no scientist, but I'm pretty sure this is exactly what caused the solar eclipse.
And while we're talking of heavenly bodies, we're going to go where no nondescript person has gone before with Starship Captains by CGE in our Games We Play segment.
We're also going to give you a great recommendation for where you can find some new dice, my feelings on worker placement games, and a quick overview of Daggerheart, the new TTRPG system from Darrington Press.
All that and more on this episode of the Dapper Meeple.
Never let it be said that we don't give credit where credit is due. I know we talk a lot of crap about a lot of people that do things that I think deserve that. But I think we try to highlight some of the brighter points in the gaming industry as well.
Yeah, I think it is something to be said when a company or publisher or something like that does something right, even if their track record is not always the best.
Sure, right? Like, I'll give you points for trying to claw your way out of being a horrible company.
Because let's be honest, with this company, that hole is awful deep.
And it seems like they pay people to make it deeper. We'll get to that. All right? That's going to be the uplifting middle of this opening. First, we're going to start out with, if you're an artist, there's a lot of art out there. Don't use it.
Plagiarism bad. All right, that's it. Wrap it up. That's all we got. Yeah, so a new piece of artwork that was included on a card in the last set, which was Murders at Karlov Manor, is now being looked at very closely by folks at Wizards of the Coast as believed to be plagiarizing another artwork from another very prominent Magic artist.
And I looked at it, and I'm not an artist. So when I see it, the first thing I did was to take a picture of it, the two pieces of art side by side, and send it to somebody who is an artist. And the response I got back was, yeah, that's a copy. They copied and flipped it, colored in the top of that part badly. That's an amateur assessment. So I know that Wizards of the Coast is going to have to deal with possible legal actions. They're not saying too much.
Yeah, so the card we're talking about is Trouble in Pairs. That was in one of the pre-constructed commander decks that came out with the Murders at Karlov Manor set. This artwork was done by Faye Dalton, and in it features two people in kind of the front work of the art that look like they're kind of, rough and tumble type of people. The subject on the right is the one that is in question. If you look into this, you can obviously pull up both artworks and make the kind of call for yourself. But it looks to be copying artwork by Donato Giancola from Cyberpunk 2020 Revengers. So yeah, I absolutely take a look at this. Wizards has said enough about it. We have questions about this. We are no longer going to be using artwork by Faye Dalton. That was pretty much the statement they put out. Because like you said, they kind of are keeping it close to the chest. They're not saying a whole lot, I'm assuming for legal reasons and legal battles, that sort of thing. So yeah, this has come up before with Magic. Obviously, now Wizards of the Coast puts out anywhere from 5 to 10 different sets of Magic cards every year. That is a lot of various artwork that is out there.
I was going to say, and how many cards are there in a set?
Usually between 100 and 200.
That's a lot of art.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you have reprints and things like that in there where they use previously used art, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so this is something that is not new before. But what really shocked me about this was the person whose art that they plagiarized. right? Donato Giancola. Oh yeah, allegedly plagiarized. We are not lawyers. This is not your law advice. Anyway, Donato Giancola is a prominent magic artist. Like, this guy has illustrated more than probably 200 plus cards and has been doing it for decades.
I feel like, I mean, I get it. If you're going to copy something, copy the good stuff.
But you got to admit, like, he's even doing artwork for like newer magic product that's coming out. So I would assume he's seeing artwork.
Oh, I'm sure. Right.
Like, I wonder at what point he saw, like, if he saw this and was like, man, that person looked awfully familiar. I wonder where I've seen them before. You know what I mean?
Like, how much, if you've done over 200 pieces of illustration, how much of it do you remember right off the top of your head?
I mean, that's true, because the piece that was copied isn't for magic either. It's another illustration that he did.
Right, it's from Cyberpunk.
Yeah. So, I mean...
So he's got more than 200 pieces.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of those artists that's making money, like making a living off of doing this.
Those mythical beasts that you hear about. But yeah, so I was... That's what really threw me for a loop here, because if you didn't know, you can actually look up on Scryfall an artist and see all the artwork that they've done for Magic. So you can go through their portfolio and see like all the cards that they've illustrated, and some of like the most iconic and like really striking art that I've seen in Magic is some of the stuff he's done.
I want to know what her plan was. Tell me what happened. Do you procrastinate, and then at the last minute you're like, crap, I gotta finish this?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe. Jumping down the Reddit rabbit hole, Reddit users have jumped on and said that the other figure in the artwork also resembles multiple artworks by other artists. So, while those are not officially like being looked at for what we could tell, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it falls under the statement from Wizards that says, we have questions about this artwork. The last thing on this is this card is brand new, first printing. It has already become a staple card in the Commander format for Magic, which means that its value is going to be fairly good, if not high. Right now it's sitting at $30. This card came in a pre-constructed deck that right now you can pick up the entire deck, which is a 100-card deck, for $40.
And every one of those decks is built exactly the same. Like, if you get the pre-constructed deck, you're guaranteed to get this card. Yeah.
So you'll get 90 other cards that I know have more than $10 in value in them. What this means is that Wizards is going to probably reprint this card sooner rather than later using new artwork from another source. That tends to be what happens with cards that go through this process. So who knows? We'll see what happens. Hopefully the next person to do this, doesn't mess it up.
Wizards, I'm just saying, I know a guy that could redo this card.
In fact, he already has some artwork. I think that would be pretty good.
I would love to see him just redo the card, but like keep her and put his original in there.
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
it's great. Good on Wizards for, stepping in and being like, hey, we have questions about this card too. We're not going to do work with them. Standard procedure that they've done before, but still, good on them.
Kind of. I feel like that's kind of low-hanging fruit, right? Like, you can look at it and be like, yeah, that looks a little iffy. I put it up on our Instagram, by the way, so people can decide for themselves. But they had to, right? Like, if Wizards came out and said, look, it looks kind of the same, but we're not really artists, so we don't want to make a decision, there would be people at the front door with pitchforks and torches. Again.
Sure. I'm just saying we're all about giving people their due this episode.
I have a hard time with doing it with Hasbro. Just so everyone's aware, I know this is a problem. I have talked to my therapist about it. We've had this long discussion about healing and letting things go. It hurts with Hasbro. Still not quite done with them.
It still hurts. It's the Pinkertons, really. That's the hard part. All right, so let's see if we continue to heal that wound.
So Hasbro is doing other things that on the surface look like they're trying to do something positive. Now, let's go ahead and like preface this with they've been in trouble since the whole open gaming license issue.
Yep.
And then firing 1,100 people, just before Christmas. And then obviously Pinkertons. But they've put together a program. So this first started in 2023. And it is an initiative that they claim is to promote more inclusive and equitable toys and games in the community, encourage women's participation in the space, inspire the next generation of young women and girls to unleash their creativity and increase awareness and exposure to creative career paths. It's a good press release.
They do have good press people. So this will be the second annual Women Innovators of Play. So it is kind of an opportunity that has a competition in it for one to find the best unpublished board game designed by women in the tabletop industry. But it also includes like professional talks and things like that about how to get into the industry. And I know this year one of the things that they talked about is they want to have a focus on younger like girls, giving them like a workshop type camp place where they can come and kind of learn, skills or hone skills, that sort of thing, to use in the industry. I think this is a great thing. We talked about the fact that there needs to be more diversity in the design aspect of the industry.
Yes.
Because there's a great opportunity there. We've seen a lot of really cool women designed games that have come out that have been absolutely excellent. I mean, Wingspan is the one that I always go to first.
Elizabeth Hargrove.
Yeah, because it rocked the tabletop world.
Wingspan is a card-driven engine-building game featuring over 170 birds illustrated on the cards. It is produced by Stonemeyer Games and was designed by Elizabeth Hargrave, not Hargrove.
Right, so I think it's a great opportunity to add more diversity into the design and development aspect of tabletop games.
So last year they had over 130 separate designs that were submitted, and they basically chose 3 winners who take home $10,000 and some mentorship by women business leaders within Hasbro and other toy and game design companies. So I just want to know, I imagine they give them like an information package of stuff to, it's good stuff to know. And if they put the Pinkertons business card in that package.
It's really standard in all packages they go out. It's part of the agreement. They get a discount for it.
One of these days, we're getting a cease and desist from Hasbro, or they're going to have to come out and be like, yeah, man, we messed that up. We don't talk to them anymore. Just like we don't talk to plagiarizing artists.
Or we'll get the Pinkertons at our door. One of the two, really. It's 50-50 at this point.
I do like the idea that they are pushing an initiative, and especially from a company that is as big as Hasbro. Hasbro has had some problems in the last couple of years. I think a lot of it is more in their toy department. I mean, because Hasbro used to be action figures.
Yeah.
And not so much with the action figures anymore. And I think with inflation and everything else, they have to charge you $25 for
I feel like that market has taken a heavy hit.
Yep. Yeah.
Over the past few years.
Wizards of the Coast has remained profitable for them. And I think their board game market has done well. Using that to push this kind of an initiative, I think, is great. There's also another initiative that they're doing along with this, which is the Hasbro Girl Innovators of Play, and it's teaming up with Girl Up, which is an organization that encourages women and girls moving up to look at other careers that are traditionally pretty male-focused, especially in the creative fields. They also are trying to shrink that gap in the STEM community.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff that they do there. And the Girl Up Project, it's an awards program that is focused on girls and women between the ages of 13 and 24, submit social impact projects that they're focused on and they're passionate about, and they can receive up to $1,000 in funding to help work on that. I think Hasbro could throw a little more money at that if they wanted to. $1,000 doesn't go as far as it used to. But they are doing something which I can appreciate. I think I would still like to see this done better.
Yeah.
So for the winners, they're giving up what, $30,000?
Yeah.
Make more winners, maybe.
I mean, sure, there are opportunities to expand this program. I think it's important, though, again, to recognize that they are doing something.
Yes.
Now, it does feel like when you are going through the grocery store and they say, "Hi, would you like to donate $5 today to name charitable foundation?" When you do that donation, that company takes your money and then writes it off on their taxes as they donate it. So it does kind of feel like, is this really what we could be doing? Because they're taking, obviously the successful ones that they choose, and then they are basically becoming the publisher of them.
So one of last year's winners designed a card game. Her name was Ellie Dix, and she entered a full partnership with Hasbro to see her game developed into a fully fledged title under Hasbro's tutelage. Now, I don't know what tutelage means, but I'm pretty sure that Hasbro is going to be the one that makes this game.
Yeah, so again, there are opportunities for being better, but I think this is a good step in the right direction.
Yep.
The fact that this is the second year in a row, I think is great.
Sure, they came back. They also own the rights to Monopoly, though, so yeah, they are trying to do something, it looks like. I will give them credit for showing up to the game. I think they walked it, but it's better than, firing people before Christmas. So I guess the arc of history tends to bend positive.
The bar is not set very high. I'm just saying, but it is there.
Fair. So keep it up, Hasbro. Keep doing good things, and we'll quit talking smack about you. So the next thing up is we just got done watching a video not that long ago talking about a new TTRPG system that I think it looks incredibly interesting. It is from the cast of Critical Role, again, which I don't even know if we call them a cast anymore. They're kind of a company.
From the company.
From the company, formerly known as the cast of Critical Role. And Darrington Press is their publishing company that they started. And it is called Daggerheart. There's mixed reviews on this. And granted, right now, just be aware that it is in playtest form, right? This is their open beta. If you want to go download it and try it out, I encourage that. Give them feedback. Again, if we get an opportunity to make a better game, as a community, we should make a better game. You can download it at daggerheart.com. You can go watch the videos. You can see what their intention is on it. A very different system from D&D or anything 5e related.
Yeah, it looks very interesting. It's got more of a role-playing focus to it.
Yeah, storytelling.
Right? Yeah, and we were talking about it's kind of reminiscent of the newer Star Wars system, where it's less of a true pass-fail when it comes to ability checks and things like that. It's more of a there's still a pass-fail element, but it has a role-telling or a role-playing prompt to it.
Right, you could successfully complete whatever your task is, but could still take a negative consequence.
Yeah.
Or even fail something and still have a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
With how the system is built.
Which I've always liked that about the Star Wars system, because it gives especially from a GM side, it gives the GM the opportunity or kind of the pathway to flow.
Right. That's the Star Wars TTRPG from Fantasy Flight Games.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple out there.
There are.
Some are better than others. But yeah, this one does the same thing. What I also kind of like is one of the things that 5th edition, I was always kind of, I don't know, iffy about was that you don't use a D12 for anything. It's got 2 purposes, and they're all barbarian linked, right? Where Daggerheart, for you to roll against a challenge, so something that you're attempting, you roll 2 D12s. One of them you have to identify as your hope dice, and the other you identify as your fear dice. So you add the total of both rolls, and that determines with any other modifiers that you have whether you succeed or not. If your hope dice is a higher number than your fear dice, you get hope to use later. If your fear dice is higher, you get fear tokens for the GM to collect to use later. So that idea of there are things that are going to happen, and you could do well, but still have like negative consequences down the line. Like, I love that idea.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it really leans into the storytelling, and which I think is really fantastic. You can do it with 5e, of course, as many people have, but I think this system kind of tends itself a little more towards that.
Right. You can see in the design they were going that way. Yeah. The combat, I think, looks fun. It's not a series of rounds like a lot of traditional TTRPGs go with. You get your character to do what you want them to do and make a bunch of attacks. And every time you do, it gives the GM tokens to use against you when you either roll, I think it's roll a fear.
You roll with fear or you miss.
So as long as you keep hitting and you don't roll with a higher fear dice number, you keep going.
Yeah.
But when you're done, it's one of those, it feels like it's going to build up. And if you don't drop everybody on the field, then they're going to get to go. Yeah. And I think that's one of those things where we talk about like action economy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more you go, the more you're giving your GM action economy to use later. That's where they bring in the fear tokens. And they can use those to kind of power whatever the bad guy's special abilities are or getting other attacks. So yeah, like it feels like it's more free flow. And I think I like that. But we might have to find a group to try it out on.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot more with like character creation, things like that we still need to dive into. But I think on the surface, it's definitely interesting. It feels different from anything I know I've played.
I see some elements, like having the tokens and stuff like that is kind of like in the core system. You do have things you can like cash in to like change the story or change your roles, but they can be very thematic. Savage Worlds as well, you get bennies that you can cash in to help out, which is kind of the way they do with the Hope system in there. But I like the way that they've implemented it, and I would be excited to test this out. And I would be excited to hear from other people testing this out and see how this goes. I feel like it's going to be very different, and I think that's a little bit of a gamble from Critical Role.
Sure.
You know, because, I mean, the vast majority of, I think, Critical Role fans are new to role-playing games.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that also plays into an advantage, too. They're also not set in a system.
I don't know. For a lot of them, 5e is the only system they know.
Yeah, but I mean, just because that's the only thing they know doesn't mean they're not open to trying out new things.
Fair. I can see that.
Whereas some veterans are like, I will only play D&D 2nd edition until the day that they, put me in a pine box.
Until somebody beats my Thaco.
So, I mean, I feel like you can get that with more with longer veteran players. Like they have a system that they love. Maybe they've tried a lot of systems and it's just the one that they love. And they may be less likely to try something new. Whereas like newer players that don't really know what they're doing, I mean, I feel like you could get them, especially if they're already invested in the brand as a whole, to be like, hey, come try our new thing. Sure.
And there are some people that are like really invested, and I get it. I love the stuff that they've done in the past. I mean, they've had such a huge impact just on like the space that is TTRPGs.
Yeah.
Some of it positive, some of it not so much. Like people show up at your table and they're like, this doesn't look like Matt Mercer's setup. Yeah, I know. Maybe we should compare funds.
But yeah, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this one as it continues to work its way through their open beta. Again, if it is something you're interested in, definitely go onto the website, get your own kit to work with, and try it out in your own group.
And one final quick entry into the giving credit where credit is due file. Both of us have birthdays in March.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is earlier on. Josh is at the end of the month. And so I was looking for something for him. And like we talked about with Jensen when he was on, we've kind of moved into that dice aficionado kind of sector where I don't need all the dice, but I would like some nice dice.
Right, right.
I did find some from Misty Mountain Gaming, which were bone dice. They said they're sourced ethically. It turns out they're like water buffalo bone or something. So apparently there's plenty of that going around. They're kind of chunky, like they're a little bit bigger than your standard dice. I think they looked really nice. So I ordered a set, and it got here and I was all excited, and it's the standard 7 dice set, and I opened it up, and instead of 2 D10s, I got 2 D12s. So I jumped on the line real quick. It's like, hey, this is a mistake. I don't know what you guys thought a 10 dice set is, but I definitely need that other D10 for them to be completely useful. And I sent it, and I was like, all right, I'll hear back from them in a couple days. Within hours, Steve down in the warehouse shoots me a message back and was like, my bad, will you take a picture so I know what to send you? And they were in the mail in less than 24 hours, or it was in the mail, the final piece that you needed to complete your set. Yeah, apparently at one point he had a podcast with his brother doing the same kind of thing.
Fantastic.
Right? They got it fixed really quick. It was here in 2 days. But I can really appreciate, that, that was a mistake. Let me fix it right now. There's no back and forth. There's no silliness. So it's definitely a company that people are actually working at. People are actually doing this, and they're paying attention to their customers and where they're sending their stuff out. And if there's a problem, they will fix it. So if you're looking for dice, and there are options out there, lots and lots of options, but check out Misty Mountain Gaming. And next up, games we play. Starship Captains, designed by Peter B. Hofgaard, with art by Roman Bednir, published by CGE. Humanity has always been pulled to the wonder of the stars, and now you've been given your first ship to explore the galaxy. Yeah, she's a little old, and there are a few dents, and the crew's really green, but we're sure you'll do great. In this Euro-style game, you'll manage a diverse crew with specialty roles and abilities. You'll earn medals to promote members of your crew and complete missions, as well as upgrade your ship with powerful engine-building technology. Defeat or avoid the ever-present threat of pirates, and try your hand at diplomacy with 3 different factions to earn even more victory points. At the end of 4 rounds, each captain will tally their victory points. The one with the highest points wins, as we wait for Command's response in our epilogue. This is one of those games that you found just in your normal, everyday wandering the countryside.
I don't know what you make my job sound like, but yes, in my wanderings out amongst the countryside. So this game actually have been keeping an eye on for a while. I wasn't 100% committed, honestly, when I first heard about it, because I am not a huge Star Trek fan. I kind of missed that boat.
I don't know what you're talking about, because they keep reshipping that damn thing every decade.
Yeah. So anyway, I missed the original boat, and since then, the other boats haven't been eh.
I missed the original boat, and I know you weren't on the second one because me and Mom were, and you weren't around yet.
Yeah.
Because Ninja Turtles hadn't come out, and you weren't ready to spoil that for me.
Yeah, that's where I'm saying.
Right?
I wasn't on the original boats, and by the time the newer boats came out, I was already on another boat. So you can't just boat hop and stuff.
I will tell you that, just as a side note, the latest one they did, Strange New Worlds, huge fan. Huge fan. Anson Mount, who plays Captain Paik, who was the original captain of the Enterprise, is coming to Tidewater Comic-Con. All right, that's my spiel. Let's talk about the game.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but this still looked really interesting. I like kind of the theming. I thought it was hilarious how close they got to needing to get an official license from Star Trek. We love these kind of games, obviously, because we love Nemesis.
Right.
And if Nemesis isn't Alien the board game without the official licensing, then I don't know what is.
Right. All we're saying is if you do like Star Trek, nothing in this game is going to seem out of the ordinary.
Yeah. And now that we've played it a few times too, we found also it's not just Star Trek. They like to reach out and touch a lot of the sci-fi we'll say properties.
Just sampling. Just
Yeah.
a little bit for everybody.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a reward.
So it's fantastic. I love the kind of tongue in cheek nature of it.
Yes. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's been something that's been really, really cool.
And absolutely, I really kind of enjoyed that part of it, right? It's kind of like with the Orville,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that because you're familiar with most of the concepts behind it, right? But it's just a little bit of a twist.
Right. I mean, even the workers being blue, yellow, and red.
Yeah.
Like,
Little on the nose.
oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting and funny about it. So the game itself really is about you being your starship captain, right? You got a brand new ship that is damaged. They couldn't afford you to give the best stuff, you know?
Again, like the Orville.
So yeah, and you are attempting to navigate the galaxy, completing missions, defeating space pirates, all while trying to get the most victory points and becoming the best captain you can be.
Right. Most of the actions that you take in this game happen through your officers, which again, I feel like it's a real Star Trek thing. For the entirety of Star Trek, it's been very officer centric. And having been in the Navy, I'm like, I think there's a whole lot more enlisted people. Do you guys just not enlist people anymore? Everybody got to go to college now? Is that what's going on? I mean, I could see it. It is kind of a utopia. Chief O'Brien was a chief. So,
yeah.
Basically, these guys are your bridge crew.
Right. You use them to activate either some of the generic spaces on your board, or if you have purchased tech upgrades, sometimes you'll get a room that they can activate that does something special.
Right. And the rooms are red is for movement, yellow is for combat, blue is for science.
Science!
And then there is the repair option that all of them can take.
And the gray people.
The cadets.
Yeah, there we go. And the gray cadets that you have can take the repair action.
Right, because that's what I want. The most untrained person being in charge of fixing stuff. I mean, it's how we do it. It's how the Navy does it. I don't know if you've looked at the condition of ships lately, but just saying. Just saying.
So yeah, this one was actually not really our usual style of game.
Definitely not mine.
Yeah, it definitely leans more towards the Euro aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, I feel like it really hits the theme well.
It does. It does. I do like that part. I think what kind of makes it feel more Euro for me is that it is primarily worker placement.
Yeah.
Right? You choose how you're going to use your officers. And then the order in which you use them, I feel like, has a big impact on the next round.
Yes. And there is no like take that mechanic kind of thing.
No.
So it can feel sometimes a little solitaire, like you're each playing your own game kind of thing.
Right. Kind of like golf. We're on the same course, but if I tackle you, they look down on that.
Yeah, perfect example, because that's 100% what happens. I can't wait for the showdown of the Masters this year.
He'd be fist fighting right on the green. Be beautiful.
Be fucking Happy Gilmore up there.
Run up, grab people's ball, chuck that shit in the hole.
So anyway,
but yeah, it very much is. The map or the galaxy is kind of laid out, the game board, and you just go your separate ways, and you are playing your own game.
Yeah.
You know, you're not necessarily playing against anyone as much as you're playing the board to score victory points.
Right. So to be fair, we have only played it 2 players. It's the same board for 3 players, but the 4-player board does get larger.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that little bit of at 3, it may start to feel a little cramped. But again, I'm not 100% sure. I never felt that way at 2.
No,
Like there always felt like there was enough space and decision making to be able to move.
I think, yeah. I think having more players would definitely change that a little bit. Just some of the problems that I have are generally my worker placement problems. where I spent a lot of rounds where I couldn't really do anything because I didn't plan it out well enough. So I ran out of red guys, who are apparently the only people that know how to fly the ship. So I kind of got stuck in a sector and couldn't really do much except science some shit. There, you get to pick some of the science cards that are laid out. Some of them give you immediate benefits. Some of them are for scoring at the end of the game. Just kind of depending on what's on the board when you go to look at it. And yeah, so I kind of got stuck and was like, oh, I guess I could repair. The good news is my ship was pristine by the end of the game.
Yeah, so the different colors kind of gives me the vibe from like Raiders of the North Sea, Forges of Ravenshire, right? Those kind of color matters.
Right.
And order matters.
Yes.
Especially in this game. So in this game, when you use one of your workers, it's got a little tracker on the top and you just slide them around the track, which I think is one of the coolest things. I don't know why, but just like tactile, like I love little stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you slide them around and that creates your queue for your next set of workers.
Right. You got a starship in front of you, and it's like cardboard. It's like 2-layer, right? So there are places, the slide that goes around the outside where you build your queue is kind of cut out. And what I really like about it, and you pointed it out when we were playing, is at some point you can get androids, which basically function as a wild officer. And when you stack them into the spot where you're actually completing missions or using them for something, they fit in that spot, but their base won't fit into the slide around, right?
Yeah, so you can't technically add them into your queue.
Right, because once you use an android, they're apparently one-time use in this universe.
Yeah, they're like, all right, we helped, peace.
We're out. But yeah, the fact that you can't move them into the thing, I think that was well thought out. You can promote your officers, which gives them an extra action, essentially, and you do that by spending some of the game currency, and you got these little white rings that go around them and like fit on the top of their base, which is really nice. You can promote up to 5 officers, and those rings fit into your board so you can see where they are. I kind of like that. All the cutout on it, I like the way that they did that.
Yeah, like the cargo spaces are really cool too, because you can you get like the pirate tokens for defeating pirates. You also get artifacts and damage all fit really nicely in your cargo spaces. And once those are full, obviously you can't get any other cargo. So I did like the way the double-sided boards worked out.
Right.
Like, or that double layer board.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like everything has a place.
Yeah.
And it's nice and easy to kind of keep things together.
Right. And I can appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that covers most of kind of the generic overview of it.
One of the things that I like that they added in is there's an epilogue based on how many points you get in the back of the book. So I've explored some of the lower ones. It goes up to 75 for your scoring. So how many ever victory points you have, that's the epilogue that you read.
Yeah.
I think I got court-martialed once.
Yeah.
The last time, I think I was just told not to come back. I don't remember.
Yeah, I know one time your humanity was in question and you got a Muppet as a defender.
Yeah, your humanity is put on trial. Your defense attorney is a Muppet. Speak with standard word order, he cannot. I feel like I got Yoda as a lawyer, and I'm going to go on to do great things with laser swords. To hell with you and your ships. Prime directive my ass.
So yeah, I do like that. That was a fun little like cheeky nod at the end.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way the whole rule book is written with those that type of humor comes through very well in the rule book as well, not just the game.
Yeah. I think there was something in there about the tracks for the influence for the different groups. Yeah. And it talked about, well, if you do this and you do this, you win that track. And if 2 people win it, I don't know, figure it out and find somewhere else to keep track of 5 points. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all right. I mean, let's look at scoring it.
Yeah. So first up is value. This game is normally $50 retail. That is not what I paid for it. Just a side note, guys, make sure if you're looking for board games, you check out Barnes & Noble clearance section, like just periodically.
Yeah.
Like it's just a thing you should do. I picked this up for $25. And I was extremely happy with that. They had like 6 other copies. I almost bought 2 because, I was just excited. It's not very heavy.
No, not at all.
And it actually feels like it plays pretty quickly because the way the turn sequencing works. So
Sure.
everyone takes an action, or a person takes an action, then it goes to the next person. So you're not using like your entire crew all at the same time. So I think that actually helps it to feel like it moves quicker because the turns can be very, very snappy. The box says 20 minutes per player. That's probably pretty close. But yeah, it never felt like it kind of overstayed its welcome.
No, and it's one of those games too that I like that you can probably figure out a set time when you sit down to play it because it all plays in 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Everybody at the table works through their officers, and then that resets the round.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, a little bit easier, I think, to kind of identify how much time you need to play.
Yeah, so going back to value to put a number on it, I think I'd still probably only put this maybe, honestly, at like I'd say maybe a 6.5.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a bad game. I don't think that's crazy expensive, but it's one of those that I'm definitely going to pick it up if it's in the bargain bin section.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know anywhere that it would still be $50 right now.
It depends. Some online or actual game stores may still have it at full retail. But because that's one of the, so like I said originally, I've been looking at this game for a while and I always balked at the price tag.
Yeah.
Right. It just didn't feel like it was going to be a $50 game for me. And I'm still kind of there. I don't know that I would pay $50 for it. And part of that comes now that I've seen it and gotten my hands on it too. We'll talk about some quality things that I have questions about and concerns. There's some things I really like and some things I don't really like. But so we'll start there.
Yeah, components coming up next.
Yeah. So going into components, so we've talked about the double layer boards, which or ship boards that each player has. I do really like those.
By ship boards, we mean shaped like ships. And if you want to know what kind of ships, they have 2 nacelles on them. Go ahead.
They probably start with USS and then have some name after them. You can name your own ship, really. Like, but yeah. So I really like those. I like you said, the couple things they did really well with them. Everything having a place. The queue I thought was something unique that is very interesting. I love the way they did that. Now let's talk about the mini ships. So your marker to go around the board is a cardboard ship that looks much like the other USS ships that we had to like fold and kind of put together.
Right, because they're cardboard, right? They're punch out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're, 3 pieces that you kind of fit the slots together to build them.
Once they're built, assuming everything goes correctly, they look pretty cool. Like, they're not bad. We had issues with a couple of them where as we tried to slide the pieces together, the actual printed layer started to like flake off basically.
Right. And I can understand, one, it's cardboard, so not really a exact building material to start with. But you've got to get those tolerances. That slide has got to be tight. Otherwise your ship's going to collapse in the middle of the board. Nobody wants that.
My question is, though, why were those not done in plastic?
Because your officers, your people that you use are all plastic.
Yeah. So I think that was a missed opportunity. They're unique. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like they would have been better just to be pre-printed.
Right. Just molded.
Yeah.
Make them plastic.
Yeah.
Throw them out there.
I think possibly part of the reason they did it was color matching to make sure that like the colors stayed consistent across everything. Because I know that can be an issue when you're going from printed, like screen printed something to an actual like molded product.
Right.
So it's possible that might have been a consideration, but
I think it's because it's cheaper.
Also,
yeah.
Also.
That's where I'm going. They do their job. They work. Like I said, I was a little I was a little annoyed by putting them together. The idea behind them, as far as like how they fit together, is really nice because the pieces that you slide on have to clamp down to hold the other pieces together, and they're specifically designed. The two fins in the back have like a stacked kind of build to them.
Yeah,
you got to put them on the right way, which we didn't the first time, and then we looked at it and went, this is why we're not engineers. And then we fixed it and it worked out okay. But yeah, I think that's the one component that I was the least impressed with on the whole thing.
Yeah. As far as the other pieces go, the other Punch-Out pieces were all fine. The molded officers are all good. Like everything else, I think is fine.
Right. And like we've talked about before on board games, don't make an area to fit something if it doesn't go there. And I think they did that pretty well with this, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about, the slide for the queue is really nice. The ready room where your usable officers sit are really nice. The way that the cargo holds basically fit all of the things that are going to fit in there. Yeah. I like that. I don't see where you could put something in the wrong place. And have it make sense.
Yeah, there is some like color-coded iconography on the shipboards as well for like setup and like what you start with in your ready room to make it easy. So that's really nice. The miniatures themselves, I mean, we're not talking high-quality miniatures here. Like, this is not Seamon or Awakened Realms type quality, but you don't need it. So I think that's more of a nitpick there.
We did have a cadet lose his feet.
We did have a broken cadet.
And we had to fix that. The important part is that in the future, we can fix you.
Yeah, medical technology is great.
Yeah, amazing.
We just attached it right back on. And
with glue.
He's practically good as new.
Yeah.
I think he even got promoted or something.
Right?
I don't know.
I don't think he's sprinting anytime soon, but he can walk to where he needs to work. We're good to go.
Galactic Olympics are probably not in his future, but, he can repair your ship. But yeah, so for components, I think I'm still probably around a 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of where I am. Again, it does its job. It's functional. Nothing wowed me.
Yeah, the only thing that I thought was very cool and very unique was the queue system.
Yeah.
That is the one thing about this game that I've really, really liked.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's enough to really redeem some of the stuff that I don't like. But that is something that definitely is unique, which brings us into gameplay.
Yes.
That's that right there, that feature that allows for like the strategic planning as well as, just the way the whole thing works is just really, really cool.
Right. You start out with a certain number of officers in the ready room, which is kind of at the end of the queue. They push into like this big round room, and those are the ones that you can use for this round. You can get others, you can promote them, you can actually change them out using medals, which are a currency in the game that you get through different missions or destroying pirates or whatever. You can use those to promote them, which gives them the double action. You can use them to change the color, like, I need more movement, less science, and swap out a blue for a red.
Yeah.
I like all that. But when we're talking about that strategic planning, kind of figuring out what you can do right now, and then you've got to kind of think the next turn, because what happens is you'll use an officer, it'll slide into the queue, right? So you build that queue, and then the next round, the queue moves into the ready room, but you keep 3 officers in the queue. So your last 3 officers aren't getting in there. So if you want to do more shooting the next round, you want to use your yellow officers early so that they get back into the ready room.
Yeah, I made a mistake of promoting an officer late. So I didn't get as many uses out of him as I would have liked, because he got stuck in the queue before for the next round. So it's kind of small decisions like that. It's also, when you do a mission, the mission cards have certain colors on the different mission actions. And whatever officers you place there, if you're trying to get the rewards, you place them the colors that go there.
Right.
That's the way that they scoot around your queue.
Yeah.
Right. So it's even little pieces like that force that kind of future thinking decision making, which I like. I enjoy that. it kind of adds a little bit of depth to an otherwise pretty straightforward game.
Yeah, absolutely. Gameplay, I'd give it a 7. Like, it was fun. I enjoyed it. There was never any real moments where I was like, this sucks. I mean, except I was looking at Josh and he's like, hey, he's got like 14 missions done. I got like 3. This sucks. But again, a lot of that came back to A, I suck at worker placement, and B, just planning out what you're going to need to do and having the officers, which are your resource, available to make the most out of it. Like I said, one of my big problems the last time we played was that I didn't have enough red officers for movement. Yeah. So there were a couple of turns or a couple of rounds that I was just kind of sitting still and not really doing anything. And I think that that led ultimately to my lack of victory points.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 7, maybe a 7.5 for me. Honestly, the gameplay is good, but it's not anything spectacular.
Right. And again, I think this is one of those for what it is. You know, it happens over 4 rounds. You can plan it out. A lot of the artwork is something that people are going to enjoy. So yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and I mean, let's put it this way: it's probably not making my like top 5 list or anything, but it is a decent game.
Right.
I think for me, when it comes to gameplay, it lacks either the depth or the payoff to really like bring it up to a level that I like really, really enjoy it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, so replayability, honestly, this game setup is completely random. So the missions that come out, where they're located on the board, all of that changes.
Yep.
So if you enjoy this game, you could really, I mean, there isn't a like, this is the only strategy because this works. You got to move here, because it's going to be different every single time.
Right. I've kind of focused on a strategy of having more of the combat officers. That hasn't worked out for me.
So far.
So yeah. But you know, again, we talked about like the cards that you draw to add to your ship from the science move.
Yeah.
A lot of it depends on what those are, because some of them give you really good bonuses to, hey, every time you blast a pirate, you get some extra stuff. Or when you do attack a pirate, you automatically take a damage.
Yeah.
Which maybe I can hit longer than they can. I don't know if that's a good idea. But there is a card where you avoid taking that damage when you're in combat.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think on replayability, it's probably an 8.
Yeah. You
it's
can get a lot out of this.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna get you some legs for sure. So let's talk overall. I think the game is good. Again, I'll say it. I'm glad I didn't spend $50 on it.
Right.
I don't know that for me it would feel like a $50 game. I don't know that this is a game that stays in the collection super long.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially as we continue to build that and start to look at culling and things like that. I think what carries this game is the theme.
I think so a lot. I definitely, because I'm a theme guy and I like it. But like you said, we were looking at like the mission cards and stuff, and you can see a lot of callbacks to other sci-fi IPs and stuff that kind of, I mean, it's fun. Like, it's fun.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who, even if they're not complete Star Trek fans, there's been enough of it that you've seen it. It's part of our lexicon now, just in general, you know. So I think that, if anything, is really what helps this game out. Overall, I'm kind of like, I'm at like a 6.5.
Yeah, I think I'm probably 6.5, maybe a 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
6.5 if you buy it full price, 7 if you get it on sale. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I agree. I think part of it is it lacks the depth to really be a strong contender for like worker placement.
Yeah.
And then it lacks the payoff of like some of the heavier, more strategic games that I do enjoy.
Yeah.
Right. When you get your victory points, even though the epilogues are funny, like, and they're unique, and you know, that kind of adds that element to it. For me, it's not enough to really
save it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Like I said, it's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I've played much worse.
Yeah.
But it also, at the same time is not something that is like spectacular to me.
Right. Yeah. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad if you get it on sale. So if you do see this pop up, you're going to run up to it and be like, oh, look, Star Trek. Oh, no, that's something else. But definitely engage and wish upon a star or whatever they do in the new Star Trek.
You send me right out into space. You send me right out into space. Right into space.
In the projects we've got picked out for today, we're going to talk about why you don't have to start your party in a tavern all the time. We're going to talk about an area control game complete with world building, jungle maidens, and battle orangutans. And finally, a little project to help you get a better grip on your mini painting. So let's start with you don't meet in a tavern.
The quintessential RPG trope is always that the party first gets started in a tavern.
All the best quests come out of taverns. There's sketchy people, there's writing on the wall, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the world of Faerun, you even have taverns that have dungeons in the middle of them, right?
The
in the
yawning
floor.
portal.
Yep. So what we got for you today, though, is a book that gives you some alternate starts for your RPG campaign.
Right. Again, the title really doesn't hide anything. And I think it's good, especially for storytelling, that you don't always start in a tavern. Now, I think a lot with my games, when we do start in a tavern, you know what kind of game it's going to be. They're going to get off the tracks quickly. So I like some of these ideas. And we've done a couple like this when we've started.
Yep.
But, I mean, it's always awesome to have a reference.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, especially as if you're a newer GM or something like that, maybe you don't have a whole lot of experience playing in games. This gives you a lot of different options of ways to kind of start out your party. Everything from something like Shipwrecked or all sorts of different options. This book has 70 plus campaign starts.
So this one's over on GameFound. Right now, it's about 46% funded. They're shooting for like $7,700 in total, and it's got about 14 days left. So let's talk about what options you have to pledge.
Yeah, so to start out, you can pick up a digital version of this for $15. Right? They will get the PDF version to you. You can use it on your computer, Kindle, whatever you got. Nice, easy, $15, fantastic for 70 plus different openers. I think that's a great deal, especially if you're not looking to have a physical copy.
Sure. But for those of us that have bookshelves and like to put things on them that we may never read, you can get a physical book for $45. You get the You Don't Meet in a Tavern book, as well as the guest scenario and art book. And then all of the unlocked stretch goals that they get. Finally, there is a retailer pledge for the friendly local game stores. $100 gets them 5 copies. So looking at the stretch goals, they have not unlocked any of them yet. But at the $10,000 level, You Don't Meet in a Tavern gets a hardcover binding. At $20,000, both books will come in hardcover. At $25,000, they're going to pull a special guest writer to write a scenario. So if they reach the $30,000 goal, they're going to have a special set of scenarios and polls for the backers to vote on, and one of those full scenarios is going to go into the book.
Especially if you are looking to start an adventure, or if you start lots of adventures, just to give you some extra ideas of new and exciting ways of opening those.
So next up, going back over to Kickstarter, we have Nerthania, Collapsing World, an area control game. What I like about it is that the board changes as you go. Like there's different tiles, and it's not like Catan tiles where they all fit. There's some weird shapes in there. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but I'm really interested to see how I can turn like water into mountains and stuff.
Yeah, so in the story behind this game is that these 4 tribes live on this planet that constantly terraforms itself, and they learned how to do that power. So now during the game, you can actually terraform the different spaces around your tribe, either turning them into water, turning them into different resources, or changing water into crossable paths, that sort of stuff. So it's a constant shifting and evolving board, which I think is very, very interesting, especially when it comes to area control, because most of the area control games, all of them that I've played, have been like static boards.
Yeah, I do like that the board is actually 2 extra large neoprene water maps that you build on.
Yes.
So that's kind of cool. And I guess the pieces that you use are non-slip once you put them on there. You have 4 different factions that you can choose from. The game is for 2 to 4 players. You got the Northerners, who apparently have Yetis, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You've got the Jungle Maidens, which fight with battle orangutans, which I'm looking at the meeple. It's not an orangutan. You've got
it is red.
You've got the Steppe Dwellers, who have battle bears that look like they want to hug. And then you've got the Forest Warriors, who have Trents and warthogs, and they also ride in on caribou. So, though it's really cool if you look at it too, the meeples.
Yeah, so the original meeples that it shows are all kind of like screen printed, but they're all different shapes and things like that, which I think is fantastic. They have hit a stretch goal to unlock a new design for the beast meeples. So the battle orangutans and stuff like that are probably going to look a little bit different. But I like both versions. I think they look really, really cool. But yeah, this one looks interesting, specifically for that kind of dynamic board, as opposed to something that's more static. It kind of reminds me of sort of Scythe Expedition, or not Scythe, but Expeditions. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, how the tiles on the board are constantly shifting, changing, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is much more of a traditional like area control style.
Right, and you can do upgrades for your units. There's like 96 custom dice in this thing.
Yeah.
So I want to see what all that's about.
Yeah, there's a lot of dudes on the map. That's basically what this game is. So right now, though, there's only a couple of pledges, which are really cool. They keep it nice and simple. Right now, you can pick up the game at $75, which is 39% off of their MSRP. So normally it's a $95 game. For the Kickstarter specifically, you get that discount. So definitely something to check out if you like area control games. Take a look at this one, see what you think. I think it's got an interesting mechanic behind it that's going to kind of shake things up a little bit. But there are quite a few reviews and stuff as well on the Kickstarter page, so you can check those out of people who are reviewing the game.
And finally, Warren Bristle Studios has a multi-directional painting handle. Now, for somebody that does mini painting, I have found having some sort of grip or handle or something that you hold and then attach the mini to is really helpful. I would think that most people that do this as a hobby would agree. And I think probably one of the most popular one is the Citadel, which is kind of spring-loaded.
Yeah.
Which is great if you have a mini with a base on it, but not so much if you don't. There are other options out there that I have been a big fan of that I've talked about, like from Lethal Shadows. But theirs starts at $75, right? So
Yeah.
it is, and it's really hefty too. Some people may not like the weight. So here is a really good option that we found for basically it's a handle, but at the top where you attach your mini, where you would hold them on, it moves like 365 degrees. So you can change the position of your hand and still have the mini like straight up or turned to the side or however you need it to get the paint that you want. You can start out with this one doing the Essentials pack, which is just the handle. It's the multi-directional painting handle, and it's got the 30 millimeter mount, which is kind of standard for a lot of minis. So you can get the Essentials handle pack for about $17. Moving up for about $21, you also get the additional mount pack, which gives you a 35 millimeter base, a 45 millimeter base, and a conical mount, which is really cool if you're painting something small, like particularly like the head of a mini or something. You can put it on there and attach it, probably with something like you use like a putty or something to hold it on there.
Yeah.
Still. Or you can get an Essentials 2-pack with just 2 handles for $33. And then the Ultimate Attachment Pack, the handle with 5 of each mount options, and that one's like $37.
Yeah, this seems like a very affordable price point.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously am not into mini painting. It's just not something that I am looking to do ever.
Fair.
Honestly. But yeah, I've always, of course, been with you as we've been looking at stuff from like Lethal Shadows and other places when we're at conventions and things like that. And this seems like it's a very, very affordable option given the things that it does. They do actually on the Kickstarter have a couple comparison shots of it up against the Citadel version. And the range of motion, obviously, that you get with this one is fantastic because you can really move it and conform it to where you're comfortable painting.
Yeah, definitely a lot more options. The Citadel paint handle 2 will run you anywhere from like $10 to $15 depending on where you pick it up at. So for a few dollars more, you get a whole lot more options. It's definitely something that I find that helps me when I'm painting to be able to make those adjustments. Trying to get into the hard places, trying to paint like war medals and stuff on where you're using the insanely tiny brush. Just being able to position and keep my hand somewhere that's comfortable really makes a big difference for me. So definitely go check these guys out.
Yeah, this project, it is currently at about $9,000 funded out of a $32,000 goal. So they still got quite a ways to go, but they have 22 days. Plenty of days left as of time of recording. So if this is something you may be interested in, take a look at it and see if you can jump on there and join in.
And with that, Captain's Journal, Starday 77726.9. After completing an assignment to assess the functionality of a recently discovered gate to the stars, we are en route to investigate a moon that has appeared over the planet of Volcant. This should be an excellent opportunity for some bonding with the crew.
Commander's Journal, Starday 77735.1. That's no moon. I got no idea what this captain is thinking, but it feels like another bad decision in a long, sad series of bad decisions. I can't believe they gave this guy his own ship after the Cube Ship Collective incident.
Ensign's Journal, Starday 77735.6. The commander just ordered a full sweep of the cargo area. Apparently there's damage from a laser sword weapon that was dropped, and someone has improperly stored 2 destroyed pirate shuttles. He keeps suggesting that I'm in line for a promotion once I earn the appropriate number of medals.
Is this a do I have to say Cadet Journal before starting? Oh, okay. Cadet Journal, star date 77749.3. It's been 6 months aboard this vessel, and I honestly still have no idea what's going on. I keep getting told that I have to repair the Starship headlights, but I can't find any headlight fluid anywhere in the cargo bay. The engineering ensigns keep telling me that it's there, but obviously it was not tagged correctly in storage.
For the Dapper Meeple, I'm Jim.
And I'm Josh. Good night, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around and listening to our show.
If you enjoyed it, let me ask you a favor. Follow us and leave a like wherever you get your podcast. It'll really help us out.
And if you have anything to say back to us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for the Dapper Meeple. Or you can email us at dappermeeplegaming@gmail.com.
And as always, we'll save you a seat at the table.